Okay, good morning, everyone. And I wanted to take this time to show you how to fix the quote-unquote automatic animation retargeting. And the reason that like I said in the announcement, this is ironic because it's a brand new feature designed to make animation retargeting easier to do. And in fact, it is way easier to do compared to any other previous release of Unreal Engine. But in my haste, I skipped a step, and that was why she had sort of the strange elbow appearance, like almost like a chicken wing effect. So if I go into play mode, you will see now our character is idling properly. And this is one of my favorite idle sequences because she looks around, and I just think it's very cool. And right now she's playing the animations that were retargeted from the Ghost Lady. And of course, we're going to use multiple animation packs and we're going to retarget them in the same way. So I don't think that in this version, because what I did is I just freshly downloaded the project and started over. And to get the basic locomotion on to Assassin Girl, what I did is I started in the Ghost Lady Necromancer folder. Then I went into Animations, starting with In Place, which is the default for Unreal Engine. I'll explain in a future video the difference between In Place and Root Motion animations, but for now I was focusing on the In Place animations. And I went to Move Basic. And this animation blueprint is referencing these animation sequences in the Ghost Lady Mannequin animation blueprint. So this blueprint is referencing these animation assets. And I wanted to transfer all of them onto Assassin Girl. So when you right-click the animation blueprint, if there is one, or if you right-click on an animation asset, and by the way, some of these asset packs that are just animations may not come with an animation blueprint, and I'll show you how to deal with that as well. But since this one does, we might as well retarget this, and all of the required animations will sort of come along for the ride. Okay, so I have that highlighted. I will right-click, and I'm going to retarget animations. And up will pop the automatic retargeter. Okay, so this is great. All we need is to specify a target skeletal mesh. And the one that I liked was Assassin Girl, which was in the, she was wearing a hood. So that was called SKM Assassin Girl number 2, okay? And these are all the animation assets, and some of them are poses, and some of them are lip sync, and anyway, all of them are animations relating to Ghost Lady, who is on the left here. That's just like the base model of that. So I start by highlighting Select All, and in class, I just clicked Export Animations because I was wrongly under the assumption that it would also export what's called the retarget assets, which consist of a freshly built IK rig for our target skeletal mesh and an animation retargeter for it. So I neglected that step. So since I fixed it, I'm going to just repeat the process, and it will probably ask if I want to overwrite the existing assets, which I do, because otherwise I'm going to have 2 of everything. But the main piece of advice I want to give to you right now is to do this action first, export retarget assets, okay? Do that before you export the animations. So let's go export retarget assets. And here in Assassin Girl, you may recall I made a folder called Retargeted Animations and a subfolder called From Ghost Lady, simply because we are going to have retargeted animations from multiple sources going to Ghost Lady or going to our Assassin Girl. And this is a way to keep track of which animations came from where. Okay? So we're going to export the retarget assets, and probably just made a duplicate. You see, it says 1 after that. It did not prompt me in this case to whether or not I wanted to overwrite. So now I've got 2 of them. If you wanted to, I guess you could do what I did and just start with just the fresh empty project. But it gave me an IK rig and an IK retargeter and another IK rig and the one that I made this morning before. Okay, so I've got more than enough of those. Frankly, you only need one, but it needs to be correctly done. Then I am going to next export the animations themselves. So again, I'll just click any of them, select all. For me, that's Control A. If you're on a Macintosh or a MacBook Pro, it's going to be Command A. And now, instead of clicking Export Retarget Assets, we're going to click Export Animations. And we're going to go back into the From Ghost Lady folder. And when I click Export, I think it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite existing files. So if you're not starting fresh, I would recommend doing that so that you don't have redundant files and twice as many duplicate animations as you might need. So we'll export those. And they're going to need to be saved. By the way, this will screw up your animation montage. So I'll show you how to, you're going to want to do this first and then redo the casting of the spell montage that she plays in your blueprint, because that's going to be gone. Okay, so this is doing something that looks like it's taking a little time. So I'll pause the recording and I'll be right back as soon as that finishes. Okay, so we can pick up from where we left off. All of these have now been properly transferred. When you review this, you're going to want to search for the animation blueprint that came from Ghost Lady. So if we go into her animation folder in place under Move Basic, her original animation blueprint was part of the group of assets that were just retargeted onto our assassin girl. And it's got this one AnimBP that's called female_AnimBP that was meant for Ghost Lady. Now, technically, in Assassin Girl, that is going to be the same animation blueprint, but I want you to see that I renamed it AnimBP. It's in here somewhere. I can filter for it. I might have done this more than once. And animation blueprint. Okay, so this is exactly the same. But just to have no confusion in our implementation, this showed up with the exact same name as it is for the Ghost Lady, but I simply renamed it hero_AnimBP. Apart from that, there's no difference between them. So if we open up this animation blueprint, one thing I want to visually verify is that in the anim graph here, if I double click this, that I add the default slot right before the final output pose to enable it to play animation montages. So we'll pull off of here and I will type slot. And you want this option, slot, default slot, just like that. And we're going to compile this and save. And you should have a checkbox. That means all is good. All right, so now our character is able to play montages. So let's look at, I'm going to clear my filter, so reset filters. And I want to look at some of these animations. And, you know, we may not even need to retarget from any of the other source because some of these look really, really good. And remember, I just want her to do that. That's mainly what I want her to do, is to cast that spell 03. And maybe we'll do something with some of these other ones as well, like healing and buffs and that sort of stuff. Okay, so cast spell 03 is more or less like the one that we retargeted from, It was from Evil Magician. I think that's the one that we retargeted. But this one is virtually the same, and she's going to shoot like a projectile out of her hand. Okay, so let me close this out, and that looks good. Also, you may have noticed that when I go into play mode, my camera is not where it was. When you go into play, this character is going to seem a lot farther away from you. And I've made it so that the camera is not only closer, but it has slightly an over-the-shoulder perspective. And I did that for a specific purpose because we're going to be incorporating a crosshair very soon for aiming, and I don't want her physical body obscuring that crosshair. So we need to leave a little bit of room to the right. So the way that I did that is I went back to the Assassin Girl blueprint. Oh, actually, and that's under third person. Remember, what we did is we duplicated BP underscore third person character. We just duplicated this, and we renamed it BP underscore hero. And all I did really in the viewport is I selected the mesh. I changed it from what it used to be. It used to be Quinn, right? And, excuse me, that's an animation blueprint. Never mind. This used to be Quinn, right? So what you want to do is change the mesh in the duplicated character blueprint and rename it and find SKM Assassin Girl 2 as the skeletal mesh asset. Up here where it says animation mode, use animation blueprint is correct, and anim class is going to be the specific animation blueprint that we renamed specifically for the animation blueprint in Assassin Girl. So that's here in retargeted animations. In case you can't find it, we can just search animation once again. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Slippery finger. Okay, so we're going to filter, hover, animation blueprint, and you can find that easily. Okay, you can even leave it highlighted if you want and just use the Use Selected Asset button. In this case, nothing should change because that's already was the one that I was using. I should also point out that there's an option here to use an animation asset, okay? And there is one called Cast Spell 3. So this is going to help me in a certain way as I prepare a spawn location or a spawn transform in order to determine where that ball of magic is going to come from, where it's going to be emitted. Now, by default, when you're using an animation asset, it starts off as looping and playing. So I'm going to turn both of those off, and I'm going to use the initial position as a scrubber, okay? So we're going to find out about when should that populate, and it's going to be at about 0.8, okay? 0.8 of the way through the animation. And I want the magical power to emerge from the hand here. So I have to specify a transform of that location. So the way that we're going to do that is in our components panel, we're going to add what's called a scene component. Before I do that, actually, excuse me, I want to make sure I have the mesh highlighted because I want it to be a child of the mesh. And I will add that scene component. Just a regular scene component like that. And a scene component, I can rename this projectile spawn transform 1, okay? Because I might have more than one magical power that what am I writing here? FORM. It's hard to type and talk at the same time. Anyway, so I can name it that. And this gizmo is going to be positioned where it needs to be, right in front of the hand. Now, that's not going to be visible to players or anything, but this is just going to show us where that's going to spawn. And what I might even do is disable snapping for the time being, just so that I can line that up a little bit in front of the hand. so that when it comes time to specify the location or the transform where our magic projectile is going to spawn, it's going to spawn at the transform of the scene component, its world location, okay? And this is parented by the mesh now, so wherever that hand goes, this will follow. One thing I've noticed, by the way, is that scene components like this one, oftentimes they will come out rotated 90 degrees, and I'm not really great with colors, but usually if I leave it as its default, the projectile ends up shooting sideways. So I'm going to re-enable snapping, and I'm going to get my rotation tool and rotate that 90 degrees in this direction. And make sure that this color, which I cannot see, is the same as the x-axis, okay? And if it isn't, make it that way, because right now I'm not capable of actually seeing that with my color vision. So let me just raise this up a little bit more, maybe out a little bit more, and make sure that it is reasonably centered in front of the hand. Remember, you can always come back inside this blueprint and change it if you need to. So we'll hit compile and save. Now, before I leave this, I want to select the mesh one more time, now that I've set that scene component, and I want to restore the animation blueprint to what it was. So this was BP underscore, it had the word hero in it, so let's type hero. Am I in the wrong field? Oh, yes, I am. Up here. Hero. Hey. You know why it's not appearing? Because I didn't set this to use animation blueprint. Okay. Oh, it remembered. Okay, so I don't even have to bother. So just set it back to use animation blueprint, and we are in business. So we'll hit compile and save. And I think it was attack 3 that I liked. So I'm going to clear our filters, and let's look for, what we can do is just double click any of these animations and all of them will appear here. So let's just type attack. They should, maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Let's see, cast spell. Yeah, that's what it's called, cast spell 3. So number 3 is the one that I want to make into a montage, okay? And I will go ahead and do that. So let's close this window, find that asset, cast spell 3, and search cast. Okay, there we go. Animation cast spell 3. Right click this, and we're going to create an animation montage from it. You don't necessarily have to change the name because it adds the suffix montage at the end. Okay, so we can make that and Control S to save it. Save. Something is not working with my Control S. That's okay. I could just open it and save it that way. All right. Normally Control S while it's highlighting should save it. Maybe it's this keyboard that I'm using. Okay, we can now implement this. Okay, so if I go into BP underscore hero and we go back into the event graph, we did script this in class, but let's just redo it. Okay, so I want this to fire off the left mouse button. That's a temporary input. Okay, we're going to talk about the proper way to implement inputs very soon. But basically what we're going to be using is this character movement component, which we want to drag into the graph, okay? And from here, we want to disable movement, and stop movement immediately, like this. And this is going to happen when I press the mouse button, the left mouse button. And then after the stop movement immediately, now we can play the anim montage. play anim montage. And you want this one, not the one that has that little square there. Just play anim montage is the one that we want in this particular circumstance. So I'll add that to the end of the execution chain so far. And now if I select an asset, it should be a pretty short list because we only made one montage. Actually, it's a longer list because it looks like there are other montages in the engine. So let's look for attack. Was it called attack? I don't remember. So I can go back here and anim cast spell 3 is highlighted. I can go here and use the selected asset right there. Okay, so I just popped it in there because it was highlighted in my content browser. So that's my favorite button in all of Unreal Engine. Play anim montage has a return value, which is the amount of time in, it's a float value, but the amount of time in seconds and in milliseconds, the duration of the montage. So I want to pull off of here and type delay, like so. It will automatically connect the execution pin. Because what I want to do next is get the character able to move again. Because remember, we disabled the movement, and this will allow the character to cast the spell, but then the character will be stuck. So let me show you again what that looks like. We're running around, we're jumping around, whatever. I can cast my spell, but now I'm stuck in place. I can't do anything, right? So we have to restore that capability. So we'll go back into our event graph. And after the delay has elapsed, which is equal to the duration of the montage, we simply have to set movement mode. And it's going to have character movement in parentheses, meaning that the target is going to be the character movement component. Technically, that's a little bit redundant because we already have that right here. So technically, we don't need two of them. And I'm going to triple dip. The same character movement component is fine for all three. And if you want to be sure that you don't have crossing wires, you can double click and make a reroute node if you want, just so that nothing is crossing over or being obscured by another node. So in this set movement mode, we're going to say the new movement mode is going to be set back to walking. Okay? And since we're talking about walking, I want to do a walk-run toggle. So that's going to necessitate me having a look at the blend space in the animation blueprint. So let me just look in the animations. I might be able to find it. Let's see. I have a search going. Let's look for blend space, animation, blend space. Hope they allow me to do that. Animation, blend space right there. Okay. Retargeted animations, Assassin Girl. Oh, come on. There's got to be a blend space. These are blend spaces, but not from the right actor. So I'm in the main content directory. I might have to find it manually. So let's clear that. Okay, we already did. In Assassin Girl, we're going to look at the retargeted animations from Ghost Lady. And I just want to make sure that I look through these. There's the montage we made. The rest of these are animation sequences, all of which are now compatible with our hero character. And for locomotion, there might be a blend space that can tell us what her walk speed is and what her run speed is. And if not, I'm going to have to just derive that or estimate that from the blueprint. So here is the anim BP. So let's double click that and look at the state machine inside the anim graph. So here we're in the anim graph. Go inside the state machine. And yeah, there is a blend space in use here. It's called female 2D. Okay, and you can see this is idle, and this is walk, and this is run. So I'm going to search for female 2D now that I know what it's called, and that's going to be a blend space. So I want to open up that blend space and get the values, okay? Because this axis is the character speed, and these little diamonds are just representations of when an animation will play, and they sort of interpolate among them. As a matter of fact, if I hold down Control and I move this X, you can see that it transitions smoothly all the way up to where she's running, okay? So I'll leave those alone, but I want to get the approximate values for walking. That's about 94, and this is about 375. So 94 and 375, I could write that down or simply remember it. And I'm going to now resave that because I goofed around in there. I didn't really change anything. So let's do this. We'll do Shift. I want to make sure that I'm using left Shift on the keyboard. And I don't like the flip-flop method personally. I like to either be holding it down or not holding it down. So on pressed, let's see. First of all, I want to set her default walk speed, which is in the character movement component. Max walk speed. I want to set that to 375, like the blend space told me. And actually, no, I want to set that to 94 because I want her to start off walking, okay? So how did that become 95? I type 94. There we go. And it's interesting. Sometimes it converts it to meters per second, but that's fine. It does that on its own. So left Shift, I'm going to speed that up to 375. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the character movement component, pull off, and set max walk speed. Get that node, and I'm going to need two of them. So while I have it highlighted, I'll hit Control D or Command D, which makes a duplicate. So what I can do, therefore, is while I'm holding the left Shift, it's going to speed her up to, I think it was 375, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. I hope I didn't forget. And then when I release, set it back to its default. That's an execution pin. And the target has to be connected as well from the same character movement component for both of them. Okay, just like that. And we will reset this to 94. Like so. The wrong number again. 94. Okay, so now compile and save. She should be walking by default. So let's go into play. Interesting. What happened there? Okay, so I must have gotten something wrong in terms of order of operations here. Let's check her max walk speed in the character movement component again. Max walk speed. All right, no, that's it should be 94. Like that. That was the problem. Let's see. So from the beginning, she should be walking. And now if I hold down left Shift, we transition into running. And if I release left Shift, she's walking again. We can cast our spell. And we're not stuck anymore. Now we can resume whatever we were doing before. Okay? So yeah, you can play around with some of the animation packs. I've got other characters and animation packs that I've included in this project. So if you want to look at any animations that are in an animation pack or that might have come with a particular character, like for example, I've got this one called Female Twin Katana, and it's got some animations of really cool, like if our character ends up in a melee fight, or maybe her companion, there are attack animations, defense animations, all these different types of things that can be retargeted. And we can preview those animations if we want to. Now, that's just a placeholder skeletal mesh there. But all of the animations associated with this pack, let's see, equip the weapons. We'll have to give her weapons. There's a lot of idols, different idols. And we can use any of these. I also have an animation pack in here that is just devoted to close quarters combat, where they can punch and they can kick, and it's reminiscent of martial arts. So we're going to make a really cool system where even the swords look magical. They're going to almost look like they materialize in her hands when she's in that mode. So she has these attacks available to her, and defenses and dodges and anything else that this thing comes with. There's so many defense. All right, any of these can be converted into montages. So we can attack and defend ourselves against the enemies that we're going to be creating. All right, so feel free to experiment with retargeting any of those, but don't make the same mistake that I made in class, which was to forget to retarget the retargeting assets or export the retargeting assets first before you export the rest of the animation data to the destination skeletal mesh that you're retargeting onto. In our case, it was Assassin Girl, okay? So if I wanted to retarget something from Dark Magician, for example, animation, let's say, what does this look like? Let's see the whole thing. Yeah, I like that one. Like maybe she's going to shoot lightning like Emperor Palpatine or something. I can do it for an individual asset like this as well. Okay, so I'll right-click and I will retarget the animation, and that's going to go onto SKM underscore Assassin Girl 2, and ready to export, and it's going to auto-generate a retargeter. So I'm going to start by selecting all and export retarget assets first. That's going to go into Assassin Girl retargeted animations, but I'm going to make another folder. This one is going to be called From Dark Magician. Okay, so now it knows where I want to export to. So I'm going to export the retarget assets by clicking this export button. And then I'll export the animations after that has been done. So we're going to do that one more time. I forgot which animation we liked. So let's see, Dark Magician, animation. Bummer, I forgot which one it is. Strafe, Spellcast 1. Well, let's just search for it again. It was near this somewhere. Palpatine Arms, that one. Okay, so that's Dark Magician spell. Let's see the full name of it. Spellcast 3. Anim Dark Magician Spellcast 3. That's the one I want. So Spellcast 3. Now I can retarget the animation. So I'll go retarget animations. You could do all of the animations if you want, but I'm just doing this one because I don't think I'll necessarily need the rest. So we'll do Spellcast 3. I want that one, and I have to reassign my target skeletal mesh, which is, once again, SKM underscore Assassin Girl 2. And this time, because we already exported the retargeter and all that stuff, we should be good. So I'm going to export this animation. And I shouldn't need to overwrite anything because this is the first time I'm doing it. Okay? And now this animation, actually, I forgot to specify the right folder. So looks like I overlooked that step. So let me do this. I'm going to just do a little bit of management here. I'm going to take this animation, drag it onto the Assassin Girl folder and choose Move Here. And now I'll open that up. And here it is again. I'm going to put that into Move Here into the Retargeted Animations folder. And then finally, this is going to be placed into the From Dark Magician subdirectory. Move Here. And now that it's in there, let's save everything. These are the retarget assets, and this is the actual animation sequence. So we'll save all that. And I'll duplicate this. Not duplicate, excuse me. Not duplicated. I want to create a montage. So we're going to right-click, create anim montage. I don't need to rename it. I just have to remember what it's called, Anim Dark Magician. Okay, so our character should now be able to cast that spell. Now, she was using the left mouse button for this. So there's different ways that we can switch the spell so that it can always be the left mouse button. But instead, just to keep things simple for now, I'll bind it to a key press of 1. So we'll type keyboard 1. Oops, hold on. Keyboard 1. And it pops right up. Okay, so that's what I want. And again, we're going to do the same kind of logic that we did here. As a matter of fact, I can even copy all of this. Control C, Control V. So what we can do, though, is if we wanted to, we could make an array of different animation montages and control it in a different way. So if we wanted to, we could have it so the left mouse button always casts the magic, but pressing number keys, for example, will determine which magic and which animation will play. But for now, I'm just going to bind it to a different key just to allow it to work. And the animation montage that I want is still highlighted here, so I don't have to memorize it. I'll use the magic button, and that will switch that for me. Okay, compile, save, and let's go back into the game. All right, so left mouse button and number 1. That's going to be cool. Once we add the visual effects and the sound effects, which are mostly going to be projectiles, it's going to turn out really, really nice. So, and now she doesn't look like she's got chicken arms. So I did find that I had to lower her mesh, the skeletal mesh in the Assassin blueprint. I had to lower the mesh a little bit because, again, her feet were floating. So if you want to use my exact values, they're here in Assassin Girl. And let's see. No, they're not. They are in BP third person because I'm keeping all my characters in there. So blueprints, BP hero. And what I found in the viewport is for the character mesh, I had to set this to, on the Z-axis for location, to -92. I think that the other one is at -89, so I just had to lower this a few units so that her feet would actually make contact with the ground. So that's already been done off camera, so now we've got a cool character that can do these things. Throwing like a magic ball of energy of some kind, or electrocuting somebody. We'll probably implement some other special animations for healing or casting a different type of area spell or whatever we can dream up. And we're also going to give abilities to her companion. That's part of the reason that I brought in a different locomotion pack. I've got a female mage set, and I've got a female twin katana. Maybe our hero is only going to be magic, but the companion is going to be armed. Okay, so we also have one, I think, called I thought I had one that was just female locomotion, but it's okay. If it's not in here, we can look through some of these that we already have. Like, for example, I wouldn't want to reuse Ghost Lady, because if you see our hero, which is using the Ghost Lady animations side by side with the companion, then what we risk is having them sort of move exactly the same way in sync with one another. So I wouldn't want that. So what I would do, therefore, is look in some of these other packs, female mage animations, and I bet, let's see, in this case, it doesn't look like we have walk and run and idle. But if we can't find any, we can always just import them into this project. And I do have animation packs for female locomotion. And they're pretty easy to just add to your project if you need to. All right. So in any case, well, what else can I show you while I'm here? I've got this pack called Human Vocalizations, which is interesting because it's divided up into human female A, B, and C, and human male A, B, C, D. And these are sound cues and sound waves that have been separated, but I can't hear them right now for whatever reason. Must be because I might have disabled sound. I might have disabled the sound from my system in my recorder, my screen recorder. So apologize for that. But there are a lot of them that are like noises like the expenditure of effort. So when the character plays something like this animation, I want it to be like, and we have those kinds of things in there. And also there are sound cues for like impact noises, not noises, but vocalizations primarily, like sounds of like a pain reaction or things of that nature. And we've got effort sounds and breathing sounds and short phrases for both male and female voices for the time being. All right. So we can now just save all, and you should be at this stage currently, okay, where you start out walking, but I can hold shift and run. Our animations should look correct now that we've done everything with the right order of operations, okay? And let her run a little bit by holding shift. And if I left mouse button, we've got this attack, which will fire a magic orb of power. And we've also got the Palpatine type of thing, which I think would make for a good like electrocution type of spell or something else. I want to look at the other animations in that Dark Magician pack now. It's got me curious, and we'll see what else we can think up. Okay, that's all for today. I appreciate your time, and sorry for missing that step in class. This is a brand new feature, and believe me, if you were to backtrack to, let's say, Unreal Engine 5.4.2, automatic retargeting was not yet implemented, I don't think. Certainly not in any version of 5.3. Even the latest version of 5.3 required manually and painstakingly creating IK rigs and IK retargeters. And that is a super lengthy and kind of boring process, but we don't have to do that anymore for the most part. Most of these animations translate perfectly as long as we make sure that we do things in the correct order. And this can save hours and hours of time, especially if you're working with lots of characters. Okay, that is all. Thank you. Feel free to contact me with questions, and we can talk about this. We'll continue along these lines on Monday. All right. So I hope you have fun. And if you want to start, changing materials out or building like a dwelling, I've got asset packs in here. I don't mean to keep talking. I know that I'm yapping away, but there's some medieval props, and modular medieval town contains some meshes of like you could make some rooms and buildings out of these meshes instead of just what's in starter content. There's some low quality trees and grass in there. And you have all of Quixel Bridge at your disposal as well, as long as your Bridge tab is open. It may ask you to log in, but you can find just about anything. Oh yeah, this just reminded me, Fab was dropped yesterday. So I recommend that you visit fab.com and start poking around in there and learning how to make sure that all of your assets are synced. And that can be done from within the Epic launcher. So once you're logged into Fab, what I did is I went to this library tab. Notice that we don't have the same options that we had before. And I found that I had to click this refresh the Fab items. I had to click it many times because at first my vault just was very, very incomplete. And I would refresh this and some more of them would come in and then it would stop and then I would hit refresh again. I think I did it 3 or 4 times in total and ended up finally getting everything back. But, when you go to Fab, it's a different user interface. You'll probably have to log in and there's, you should just do some exploring. Maybe start by clicking Unreal Engine. And you can browse different types of assets, and it will tell you if you own something, for instance. If I search in animations for something I know that I have, Evil Magician, for example, that's an animation pack, and it says owned, right? So that's going to stop. That'll prevent you from trying to buy things that you already have, right? So, I knew from memory that I already owned this animation pack, but I don't own these. So you can search now for, it even handled my misspelling correctly. We can close out from animations and we can look for things like 3D models that are static meshes. And now this is very integrated because these models are coming from static meshes and skeletal meshes. Are coming from all of the sources that Epic Games has acquired. Meshes from Sketchfab and ArtStation and other sources. So you have a much wider range of meshes available to you and including Quixel. So if you have to update your Quixel library, I would recommend doing this. And we'll go to, let's see if Quixel is up here, if I can find that again. I already did my migration, but let's see if I can find this. Right here, if you go to the Discover tab, mine says Megascans claimed, but just follow this link and follow the instructions. You don't have to download all the Megascans assets to your hard drive. They just have to be listed as owned by you. Okay, before the end of the year, and that way you'll have access to all of them ongoing for free. And just choose the personal license tier, and that will be. Unless you start making serious money, you might have to upgrade your license tier. But while you're learning, you might as well just get the personal licenses, the cheaper ones. And by the way, these Megascans that exist now will remain free for you. So none of them are going to cost anything, but now is the time to lock that in. Future Megascans assets may cost money. And some of the other ones that come from different sources, like Sketchfab, you may have to buy on an individual basis. They occasionally have free ones. So does Laertes and Decagon. This is all like in one central location, which makes it very, very convenient to find all of the things that you might need for a given project. Okay, now I'm finally done. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.